When examining anything such as a paradigm and looking for the right way, it's useful to start at the bottom. And if we look at the beginning, at the roots of the question, what is the right way? Well, we start with what is right. And to our perspective, what is right is a movement towards beauty, towards goodness, towards truth, meaning sanity, integration, or integrity, towards sustainable well-being. And at the peak of the continuum is conscious, sustainable fun with mastery. Conscious, sustainable fun with mastery is the only unquestionable end. Meaning you can ask someone, why do you want power? And it's a good question. Well, so that I can use the power. What are you going to use it for? To feel better. Nobody wants to have power so that they can use that power to feel worse and worse and worse. Now, there are cases with self-punishment and self-sabotage where the equation in the persona that's driving the self-sabotage is something like, I'm bad. If I punish myself, I can mitigate the shock and feeling of out of control by reducing the amount that other people punish me. This is a 5-year-old's perspective and a 5-year-old's reality. 5-year-old breaks mother's vase. He knows from experience that he's going to get beaten. But he also knows from experience if he can break get out a bit of the glass, cut his leg, scream, writhe on the floor, and play dead, that mother will switch from beating him to making sure he's still alive and worrying about his health. In other words, he's learned that to punish himself is a net positive. Because he's not out of control, he can regulate the punishment, he can exaggerate it with performance, and as a result, he will be shocked less. Because when someone else punishes you on their own terms, you're always feel a little bit disoriented because you didn't know exactly how they were going to punish you. They didn't know exactly how hard they were going to hit you. But when you cut yourself, when you writhe around on the floor, etc., you do know exactly how much you're going to punish yourself because you're doing it. And so it's a step up in well-being. Well, nobody explains to the 6-year-old that you're now in a different reality. And so when you do something that was considered bad at the age of 6, 6-year-old looks around for how am I going to punish myself so that I can mitigate shock and take control of the amount of suffering, which to the 6-year-old's belief system is unavoidable. And so you do have deviations from the protocol, but they're not real deviations, meaning in the programming of the persona that's playing out the sabotage or the self-punishment, it is for the best, meaning the goal is to feel better under the circumstances. And the data set may be wrong because the 6-year-old may now be in an adult life where they may actually get punished for punishing themselves and not punished for breaking a vase. Broke a vase at 6 years old. Self-punishment was a coping mechanism. Break a vase at 30 years old, you just get out a credit card and may I buy you a new vase, and you don't have to crash your car. You don't have to get a divorce to prove that you're have been punished enough or something. You just get out a credit card and pay for the vase. So the updated protocol for well-being hasn't gotten through to a traumatized, split-off part of the psyche. And this is the reason that trauma and traumatic illiteracy is one of the biggest sources of unnecessary suffering in our cult or culture, is simply that so many of the dissociated, split-off personas within the maturation process, the traumatized maturation process, are still doing the only things they knew in a psychologically illiterate family and culture to survive, even though they are punishing and destroying and criticizing us unnecessarily today. They haven't gotten the memo, because as a psychologically illiterate person in a psychologically illiterate cult, we don't learn how to pass those memos on the dissociated parts, just as we don't learn to integrate the dissociated parts so that everyone's on the same page. But nonetheless, however we're going about it, we're all aiming in the same direction. Sustainable, conscious fun with mastery. I want to be free. Why? So that I can do what I want. Why? So that I can do the things that I want. Why? Because doing what I want feels better, is more fun than doing what somebody else wants, doing what I don't want to do, right? So it's all pointing towards fun. Now, what's the highest possible expression of fun? It's conscious, sustainable. In fact, unsustainable, unconscious, volatile fun is sometimes worse than mediocrity. What do I mean is, if you're being jerked around by someone else, they're nice to you, then they're mean to you, they give you something, they take it away and then steal something from you, this constant volatility is horrible. You'd rather they didn't do anything to you at all. Don't give me something, don't take it away, don't give me an ice cream, and then don't hit me, right? Just cut it out. Just get away from me. You're jerking me around, and that's not fun because it's not sustainable fun. You know, if mom gives you a lollipop when she's drunk and then hits you for eating the lollipop once she's sober, you don't want the lollipop. Just stay away from me, right? So we want sustainable fun. And we want mastery. We don't want to be at someone else's effect for the rest of eternity. Someone wants to give us a good time. They've got all the money. They've got all the technicality. They've got the car. They've got the whatever it is, the music, the booze, the party. They invite us. We've got fun. If they don't, we don't. We're just at the complete effect. No, we want mastery. We want sustainability. And we want consciousness so that we can enjoy it, be aware of it, but also you can't have mastery and sustainability with unconsciousness. I don't know how I got here. No idea how to repeat it. No idea how to get out of the next crisis. No, just no idea. That's not mastery. That's just take whatever life throws along and randomly react. You know, we want fun, but we want it sustainably. We want it independently. We want to have the agency. We want it conscious. And we want to have mastery. Here's how we sustain that fun. So that's where it all ends up. Nobody has to question that. Like, why do you want sustainable, conscious fun with mastery? Why? It's simple. Because it's more fun. Than what? Than misery. Fun is more fun than misery. Conscious fun is more fun than unconscious fun. Masterful fun is more fun than I have no idea what the hell I'm doing or how I'll do it again, and I hope it lasts because I'm out of control. Masterful fun is more fun than incompetent, fun. Independent fun, where we're generating it, is more fun than depending on someone else. Sustainable fun is more fun than fun that collapses. You know, you get drunk, then you have a hangover. That's not sustainable fun. But you create a high, a mental, emotional, physical, financial, sexual, relational high, and you know how you do it, and you teach others around you to do it, and you are the source of that. And every day, your body feels great to be in that environment. You know how to do it, and you do it again. Why? Because it's more fun than the alternative. Conscious, sustainable fun with mastery is more fun than any other alternative. It doesn't need an explanation. We all want to feel good, and we don't want to feel bad. And conscious, sustainable fun with mastery feels better than anything else. And it includes all the other things. It includes power. You can't be consciously, sustainably fun without any power to create conscious, sustainable fun. It includes freedom. It includes intelligence. It includes money. It includes sex. It includes beauty. It includes magnificent architecture. Why? Because magnificent architecture is more fun than crappy architecture, than ugly architecture. So everything that we want is in that umbrella. And so that is the end goal. Now, how do we know we'll end up there? Because everything ends up eventually with conscious, sustainable fun with mastery. How do we know we're going to end up there? Well, because we keep taking steps when we're in pain to learn what caused the pain and then do less of it. And we keep taking steps when we feel better to do more of it. You have sex with someone, you feel good, you go back for more. You get paid a lot of money to do something, you do it again. So we keep sending out feelers for what's going to make us feel consciously, sustainably better. And as we find it, we do more of it and more of it. As we run into roadblocks, we reflect, we figure out what went wrong. Why? Because we want it back. When a marriage goes sour, we try and figure out why, because we want to feel again like we felt before we were married. We try and figure it out, maybe with another person, maybe with this. We're trying to come back to conscious, sustainable fun. It's an innate drive. And evolution gives more and more opportunity to move in that direction in more and more complex ways. So it is inevitable because the evolutionary path, the evolutionary arrow is pointing right at conscious, sustainable fun with mastery. And sustainable fun means a sustainable planet. It includes ecology. It's not sustainably fun to destroy your host body. Give it a shot, put some arsenic in your body, see if it's any fun. It's not. It's not as fun as feeding our body nourishing food. The same is true in the larger context. And so that's where we're heading. And the foundation is understanding that. That's where we begin. We understand this is the goal. This is the goal. This is where it all begins. We want conscious, sustainable fun. Now, as we go forward, we have choices, and then we have choices and subset choices. We just have more and more choices. But one of the most profound stages of choice is the paradigm. The paradigm is the context or the frame through which we view reality. If you view the world through the paradigm of a conqueror, well, to some extent, conquering may be more sustainably fun than being conquered, but it is not as sustainably fun as, for example, being an explorer or being a partner. Why? Because everyone that you conquer and oppress inevitably develops new talents of friction and hostility against their oppressor. In other words, as soon as you oppress someone, conquer someone, what you have done is you've set in motion a rapid accelerating evolutionary tract in which their primary focus goes to be breaking out from your oppression. And so it's not as sustainable because now you've got to spend energy to hold your prisoner captive in some way. If you arrest someone and hold them captive, you've got to spend energy guarding that cell, making sure they don't get out, making sure that they get whatever it is you've decided that they're going to get. It all takes energy, and energy consumption is not as sustainable as grace, letting things be the way they are. So we can say that we're moving towards grace. We're moving towards a reality where we can let more and more of what is be the way it is and have a healthy win-win relationship with it. Why? Because it's more fun, and because it's more sustainable, and because it requires more mastery to do that than it does to move into a reality where you are more and more at war with more and more parts of the larger body, of the larger ecology of which you are a part. It's not good to be at war with a larger portion of yourself than you, because the law of mass dictates that when the pinball and the bowling ball collide, the pinball goes flying. So when the pinball goes to war with the bowling ball, the pinball always loses. The only success for the fighting individual at war with reality is muscle tone. If you don't go into a head-on collision, you will develop muscle in the combat with yourself. Just like you do this enough times and you'll develop shoulder muscles. But you could also develop shoulder muscles by building a house. At the end of 10 million years of this, you're dead. At the end of 10 million years of building a house, there's a lot of houses built. It's intelligent to direct tension towards a new possibility, towards the birth of something more intelligent. Now, we're starting with paradigms. Now, within the framework of paradigms, there are so many paradigms that we can choose, and they all have their pros and cons, and none of them are real unless we make them real. If we choose them and look through them, they become real. But they're not real in the sense of an absolute truth. So the question is, what is a useful paradigm for ending up with conscious, sustainable fun? And there are many answers to that. But let's explore the paradigm that we are born into a matrix of consciousness, a matrix of inner dialogues and outer dialogues that mirror one another. That there is a system, a circle, with a variety of roles, that produce the consciousness that we're in. If we look at the system around us, there's a baker, there's an attorney, there's a victim, there's a persecutor, there's a lover, there's a manipulator, there's a tormentor, call it a punisher. There's an innocent one, there's a wise one, there's a fool, right? All of the systems, whether it's systems of personality, systems of Enneagram, systems of archetypes, the Tarot, what they do is they take the possibility field of the psyche and they refract them down into a simple, dumbed down version. Meaning there are 256 million different personas, archetypes, etc. There are 256 million colors refracted on the typical computer, on a computer chip. 256 million shades of gray, shades of color. But we can't track that system because it would take us so much time to delineate the 256 million different faces of self that it's questionable whether we would suffer more taking all the time to do all that talking than not even being aware of personas. So we have to dumb it down to maybe 10 or 12 primary colors of the psyche. Maybe 9, maybe 6, maybe 3, but something a little bit simpler. And then we understand conceptually that those simple renditions are far more complicated, but they still may be useful approximations to understand ourself and reality. So we have the abusive power, we have the victim of abusive power, we have the rebel, we have the politicians, we have the teachers, we have the students, we have employees, we have bosses, we have manufacturers, we have service people, we have all these different faces, and together they form a kind of chaotic relationship where they all kind of relate in some way to one another, and together they make the synergy that is our reality. Now, these personas, to some extent, exist inside through mirror neurons technologically, or neurologically. Mirror neurons help us understand what we see. The individual is also always a microcosm of its cult or culture, and so in that sense, we see and experience what we experience. So here's the paradigm. You and I are born into a system. Everything we experience in human consciousness is a system. It begins with the system of language. Language is not reality. It is a system for cutting reality into pieces that we pretend are distinct from one another but are in fact interconnected. So we start with the system of language. We start in a system, in a cult, a capitalist cult, a Christian cult, a chauvinistic cult, a dominance cult, right? Chauvinism says that the masculine is more valuable than the feminine. And like all cults, they don't have to explain themselves. They don't have to justify themselves objectively. The majority agrees, and so the minority is punished if they diverge from the norm. So here we are, chauvinistic, racist, capitalist, really believing in daily life that money is more important than human beings that make the money and invented it. All you have to do is drive by a homeless village and ask yourself why you don't stop and help these people. Well, to stop and help those people would take some of your time and some of your money. And money is more important than people. And so I'm not going to do it. It's that simple. And we all agree, so we're part of the cult, right? We all understand that. My $100 is more important than this person's well-being tonight. Okay? If everyone agrees that that's the case, then you've got a cult of agreement. Doesn't make it true, doesn't make it good, doesn't make it beautiful. Just makes it that rendition of a cult. Now, you're in a cult doing that with everyone doing it. And this is part of, the cult, because if you were in a cult where everyone expressed feelings and everyone cared for the homeless, you would do that by nature as well. We copy the cult. We indoctrinize ourselves with the norms of our cult, good or bad. Now, every cult is flawed. Every cult is insane. Every cult is cruel to some degree or another. Every cult has some degree of intelligence, some degree of sustainable well-being as well, right? It's got both sides. Now, as a cult member, you don't have to question any of this. You just copy your cult. As a rebel, you question. You move into the stage of adolescence. And there you say, that's not fair, and it isn't. That's not balanced, and it isn't. That's not true, and it isn't. That's cruel, and it is. The adolescent sees the imperfections in the status quo. And the adolescent rebels, verbally, financially, emotionally. I don't want anything to do with this family. You're fucked up. And so the adolescent has moved from sympathy with the cult into antipathy. Now, this is often expressed in the family, but the family is a microcosm of the cult. Now, as the adolescent rebels, it is typically punished, marginalized, scolded, humiliated, maybe kicked out of the family or the house. Come back here when you're willing to abide by the cult norms. It's my house, do what you're told, or get lost. And the adolescent may not have thought things through very well and may, quickly come to realize, well, they've got to sleep somewhere. I guess we'll go back and live by the cult norms. Or maybe the adolescent transitions and says, you know what, no, I am going to create a better way, and moves into adulthood, meeting their own needs in a unique way that is an adult. The question is, how does the innocent one, because we're all innocent, how does the innocent one view and navigate with the insanity of the cult in which they're born into? Are these the oppressors? Are these the enemy? What's the right relationship between the innocent one and the cult in which they're born? And the first thing that I want to say is that the measure of a paradigm, the measure of a truth, is not whether it's correct in the sense that there's no data to the contrary, or there is data. It's not that you cannot find contradicting data. The measure, rather, is this. Do you move closer to conscious, sustainable fun? Now, we have to also understand, we know we're getting up there, but what is conscious, sustainable fun? What does it look like? For example, can you have conscious, sustainable fun with mastery, with the people around you suffering, with the people around you robbing you, raping you, hurting your siblings? Can you have conscious, sustainable fun with mastery, with mediocrity, depression, ugliness, poverty all around you? And I would say that you can generate the state, but it is not as easy. If you have true mastery, your conscious, sustainable fun includes several things. First of all, teaching everyone around you conscious, sustainable fun. Because why wouldn't you, right? You could say, well, it's not my job. Well, if your job is conscious, sustainable fun with mastery, then presumably you know how to teach other people how to have conscious, sustainable fun. If you do not know how to teach other people how to have conscious, sustainable fun, your mastery is just beginning. It isn't blossoming. So if you do know how to teach people how to have conscious, sustainable fun, ask yourself if it's more fun to teach all the people around you how to have conscious, sustainable fun, or if it's more fun to be surrounded by miserable and incompetent people that want to have fun but don't know how, and spend vast amounts of time, money, and natural resources making themselves and you more miserable than you need to be. You see, it's more fun to teach people to have fun than to teach people to be miserable. Now, it's more fun for someone who's in a state of conscious, sustainable fun with mastery. If you believe that you've got to punish yourself for the next 50 years so that you can be lovable by the time you die, teaching other people to be gracefully lovable today is not going to be fun because it's not going to seem fair. But that just means you have a low level of competency, a low level of mastery. If you really know what you're doing, you create conscious, sustainable fun for you today. You build it to an almost unbearable level. There's just so much fun all the time, it's hard to deal with. It's like there's just all this fun going on constantly. And it's way more fun to have that radiate out, to share that with other people. So, the old tendency for someone who's miserable and depressed to help other people be miserable, depressed, so they won't be left alone in a misery and depression they don't know how to get out of, doesn't apply for someone who has conscious, sustainable fun with mastery. Nobody wants to be left alone in a misery they can't get out of. And if they can't get out of it because they're incompetent in a cult that breeds incompetent people who don't know how to get out of misery, they will act to keep other people in misery. They will act to keep you in misery. So what's more fun, leaving them in misery or giving them insight, inspiration, possibility to be less miserable? First of all, you don't have to be as miserable. And then secondly, the people around you who affect you, who influence you, don't have to influence you as negatively because they're not as negative. And to be the source of that, to teach people that, what a journey. So in order to be in the highest state of conscious, sustainable fun with mastery, one must teach, inspire, include the people around you. And for them to be in the highest states of conscious fun and mastery, they need to include the people around them. To reach the highest level of conscious, sustainable fun with mastery, every person on the planet needs to be in a high resonance, at a high level of competence. And it's a gradient. That's kind of the ideal. So if we know that that's the ideal, that's when it's going to be, that's when we're in a state of grace. When we're born into a group of people that has high levels of conscious, sustainable fun with mastery, we don't even have to think and we're having fun. It's the easiest environment to have fun in that you can possibly imagine. It's more fun to meet your needs for survival, security, love, and belonging than not to meet your needs. It's more fun to collaborate with others to meet your and their needs than not to collaborate with others. Others that have conscious, sustainable fun with mastery, I mean, it may not be fun to collaborate with idiots, but they haven't got conscious, sustainable fun with mastery because being an idiot doesn't produce conscious, sustainable fun. It produces all kinds of unnecessary suffering for you and the people affected. So, if we look for a moment at the paradigm of fractals, what it says, to use an example, is that the atom is a microcosm of the planet, which is a microcosm of the solar system, which is a microcosm of the universe. That within the small pieces of reality are echoes of the larger pieces of reality. And within the larger pieces of reality are aggregated the patterns of the smaller pieces of reality. So in this sense, the individual is the fractal microcosm of its family, which is the fractal microcosm of its cult, which is its fractal microcosm of its species. Now, one of the interesting continuums within human consciousness is between zero waste down here and total waste down here. Now, waste is a word that is invented by humans to describe things they don't know what to do with. If you don't know what to do with something, you say it's garbage, get rid of it. I don't want it. Well, why don't you want it? It's energy. It's a resource. Yeah, but I don't know what to do with it. I can't figure out, at my limited state of competency, how to turn that form of energy into well-being for me now. In fact, it's a net negative. It's something I don't want. I don't want a plastic bag in my house. And I haven't figured out a better way to get my things delivered to me than a plastic bag. I could do that. I could solve the equation that way. I could come up with a better technology. But I haven't done that because I lack the competency to do so. And I also, having unpacked the bag, I could reuse it, but I don't want to do that because I'm forgetful, and then I'd have to put it in the car, and then it wouldn't be as clean, and I don't want to do that. So I haven't figured that one out. Or I could throw it in a bin and dig a big hole in the ground because I don't know what to do with it. And that's what I do. And rather than say, this is all the stuff, for an American, it's 100 tons over a lifetime. 100 tons of stuff. This might be a 3-story building filled with stuff that American didn't know what to do with over the course of their whole life. This I didn't know what to do with. I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know. This huge thing, 100 tons of energy. Now, I had to work hard to make all the money to buy all that energy. And then I had to pay to dispose of it as stuff I didn't know what to do with, and that nobody around me knew what to do with either. So we dug a big hole in the ground and stuck it there, hoping that one day somebody will know what to do with it. Well, that's obviously a very low level of competency. Now, there's psychological waste. This thought, I have no idea what to do with it. This feeling, get away, I don't want to have that feeling. It's energy. It's a resource. Yeah, but I don't want it. Why not? Well, it means I'm bad, or it's bothering me here. So what are you going to do with it? Well, I'm going to push it away. I'm going to push it away. And then it's going to come back. I don't know what to do with it. There's these thoughts, there's these feelings, there's these things, there's these people. I don't know what to do with them. And so I pretend that they are garbage. Garbage people, garbage things, garbage feelings, garbage thoughts, garbage stuff. I don't want it because I don't know what to do with it. Well, the lower your competency, the lower your imagination, the lower your creativity, the more stuff around you, the more narrow-minded you are. The more stuff around you, you look at it and you say, I don't know what to do with this. Get it out of here. The higher your competency, creativity, and intelligence and imagination, the more you say, oh, I could do something useful with this, and I could do something useful with that, and I could do this, and I could do that, and there's all kinds of useful things. None of this is garbage. You're not a garbage person. You would be great in this situation. You're not a garbage thought. You're telling me about this belief, and this belief isn't a garbage belief. It's giving me a chance to change into another belief or do this with it, and that paradigm isn't a garbage paradigm. No. Nothing is garbage. To the most competent and intelligent person, there is zero waste because everything is energy. And the only question is, are you smart enough to know what to do with it? And if you are, there's no waste. If you aren't, then your mind creates the delusion of waste, which is the name you give for stuff you can't figure out what to do with. You look around, but nobody knows what to do with it. Of course, you're in a cult that has a certain intelligence quotient that has all kinds of things it doesn't know what to do with. So on the path to sustainable, conscious fun, you climb up the corridor from tons of waste all the way up to zero waste. And at the point where you look at everything and everyone and you see opportunity and you see value, I could learn this with this, I could grow with that, I could do this with that. At the top of that pyramid, you have peak intelligence, zero waste, zero energy loss, highest efficiency. You have grace. You don't have to fight and move this stuff and do this and this. You have grace. Now, of course, we are all a long way away from that. And in some ways, we're going backwards. A Native American 500 years ago produced less than a kilogram of stuff at the end of their life that nobody knew what to do with. At the end of an American's life in 2021, there is 100 tons of energy locked in a pattern that vast amounts of time and money was spent manufacturing and acquiring that nobody knows what to do with. So we're going backwards. Less than a kilogram 500 years ago to over 100 tons. And one of the biggest problems as we move backwards on that particular continuum is that we don't understand that there is no waste. There's just stuff that we lack the intelligence to reintegrate into our ecology in a way that produces sustainable well-being. And lacking the intelligence, it doesn't produce sustainable well-being. And we spend vast amounts of energy, time, money, and natural resources to dig big holes in the ground or to put it into the lungs of the planet through incineration. Just not very intelligent. So we're getting a picture of zero waste, no waste people, no waste thoughts, no waste feelings, no waste bags, energy, whatever it is. There's opportunity to learn and grow. There's no waste. And that's helping us to kind of frame the paradigms that can get us there towards conscious, sustainable fun. Now, a good way to look at this is that the system that we enter, the cult that we enter, is an operating system. It's a program. You do this to this person, then they do this to that person, then they do this to that person. And each system produces a quotient, an amount of sustainable well-being. Our entire cult infrastructure, perhaps, let's just say 15% to be generous. 15% of all the energy spent in our cults today are producing sustainable well-being. Garbage, of course, is not sustainable well-being. Eventually, everyone's lungs are toxic from incineration, or there are no more holes to dig. One person this big cannot produce 100 tons of energy at an exponential rate as population increases and have that go on forever. That's not sustainable. And lots of the ways we spend our time and money make us miserable. So that's not sustainable well-being. So let's just say we're probably at 10% intelligence, 10% competency, 10% mastery at producing sustainable well-being. And to be generous, we'll just call it 15%. Well, that's our cult. All of our garbage trucks, all of our cars, all of our houses, all of our education, all of our hospitals. Think of all the trillions of dollars spent on hospitals. And how many people feel sustainably good in a hospital? One of the more miserable experiences of my life, my one day in the hospital. Miserable. Physically, emotionally, mentally miserable. Financially miserable. $18,000 for one 24-hour period in which I got 8 quarts of water. That's all that happened. I went in, got 8 quarts of water, $8,000 or $18,000. It's an incredible amount of waste, suffering. Who likes to spend that amount of money? Or prison, how much joy, how many trillions go into prison systems and how much joy is created in the prison? Is the warden really happy patrolling around in a concrete cell? How about the prisoners? Are they happy? Is it beautiful architecture for the people hiking by the prison? Is it nice for the taxpayers to pay for 1% of their population to be incarcerated? Often for the most inane reasons imaginable. No, this is no fun. This is miserable. It's profoundly pathetic. So we're at a very low level of competency, but we have a sense of what a high level of competency is. And we're in the system and we're part of the system. Now, you have to pick a role within your system. Otherwise, you don't function. Do you want to be a car driver? Well, you have to get a license. Do you want to be a banker? Well, you have to get a license. You have to learn banking. You try and fit your role. You want to be a teacher? Well, you have to get a license. You have to go to the education system and then teach things the way you're told, not the way you want to teach. And so there's the system, and it produces about 10% sustainable well-being, about 90% waste. So we're in need of a 10x system, which is one of the reasons why 10xliving.org is such an interest of mine, such a passion. Well, we're in this system, we're in this paradigm. We're supposed to make money and then we'll be happy. Of course, wealthy person after wealthy person say, I just made lots of money, I wasn't happy. I just read the biography of a number of highly, $100 million performers, public figures, etc., miserable people since childhood in miserable families. So money doesn't actually make you happy, but that's part of the waste. Everyone's trying to make money because they're told that it makes you happy. And you don't learn that that's not true until you have lots of money and you realize, oh, it didn't make me happy. But now you've already wasted perhaps 40 years pursuing the wrong goal. And in much of that time, no one will ask you how you're feeling and how happy you are, or what they could do to make you happier. They will just tell you the cultural prescription. Do this, do this, do this, and then you will be happy. And if you are not, don't tell me about it, because it might mess with my brainwashing. And I don't want to think, because we are a cult. We're not free-thinking individuals. We're part of a cult. And it's not normal to think when everyone is playing their role. So, I've lived in this framework for most of my life, and I've looked around, I've said, that's crazy, that's dumb, that's so obnoxious, that's terrible, this is this, why aren't I helped to do this, why is no one asking these questions, why is everyone ignoring this bit of data here, this is nuts. I am a victim. I am a victim. I'm misunderstood. I'm unappreciated. I'm not supported. The whole world is conspiring to sustain a wretched level of personal and global misery that is completely unnecessary. And it's not my fault, and I didn't do it. These idiots out there, just, oh, my goodness. Now, the question is, does that lead to conscious, sustainable fun with mastery? And it's a stage, and so it is important to understand in detail what exactly is inefficient, cult-like, dogmatic, absurd, insane, painful, unnecessary. It's important to understand what those things are. But if all one does is blames all the various people, why doesn't the president do this? Rather than say, well, let me become president and then I'll do this. If all one does is this, it doesn't lead towards sustainable well-being, it leads to powerlessness. Because all these people are doing all these crazy things and I'm just the victim. I can't do anything about it. And the question is, are all these victim experiences waste? Meaning, I could be living a happy life, I could be having a wonderful opportunity, except all these crazy people are ruining my life. They didn't give me the right education, I had horrible parents, the parents didn't take any parenting courses. Oh, it's just miserable. So what's the outlook? What's the paradigm that works? So in this paradigm of the innocent victim, all of these things are waste. I'm wasted on the cruelty and misery of the world. If only people understood, if only people did it my way, if only people stopped being themselves and did all that I told them to do, then the world would be wonderful. But they're too dumb, and so I have to endure the chronic suffering of their stupidity. Well, that can go on indefinitely. Oh, my goodness, there's another stupid thing they've done. Oh, my goodness, and another one. And these 10 other things. And while I was looking at that stupid thing, these other people were doing incredibly stupid things over here. Oh, my goodness, I can't even count all the terrible crimes I have been victimized by. I shouldn't have to open my eyes and be polluted with advertising. It's going straight into my subconscious. Who has the right? And then my driving suffers because some person let someone else put a billboard there that lied to me, tried to get people to take more drugs so that I'm surrounded by people doped up who can't drive. Oh my goodness. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. But this is a paradigm of high waste. Everything is waste. That's a wasted thing, opportunity there. It's all the whole thing should just stop. This is the sentiment behind some of these mass shootings. Just stop. Kill the humans. Stop Stop the system, stop the machine. All this stuff is waste. Wasting my time, wasting my life. Now, there is another paradigm. There's many, many paradigms, but there's another paradigm, and that says, I am in this system on an ultimate journey towards sustainable conscious fun. For me to achieve that, I've got to enlist the support of this person and this person and this person and this person. I've got to learn these skills and these skills. It's like I've got to figure out how to handle shame because I've got dump loads of it given to me. My teacher gave me a dump load of shame. My first lover gave me another dump load of shame. My mother gave me 2 dump loads of shame. My father gave me 3 dump loads of shame. But all these dump loads of shame. And I'm on a journey to create conscious, sustainable fun. What am I going to do with these dump loads of shame? Well, see, within a zero waste paradigm, within an intelligent paradigm, what's the opportunity? How do I learn conscious, sustainable fun with mastery? With 7 dump truck loads full of shame? Well, I have to learn what it can be used for. I have to learn what the subcomponents are. I have to give it back to the ecology in a form that is useful. If I just put it in my body and use it to create cancer and depression, I'm going further away from conscious, sustainable fun. So what do I do with it? People tried to put it in my body, and some of them succeeded, but now that it's here, what do I do with it? See, now we're looking at a paradigm of responsibility. Now, responsibility is not blame, and it's not punishment. It's saying, I have the ability to respond, and over time, I have the ability to learn what responses work and what responses don't work. And I'm going to respond to the best of my ability to create the most unnecessary, or to create the least amount of unnecessary suffering and the most amount of sustainable well-being. Within the choices that I can figure out, I'm going to take this liability and learn something with it. So I'm going to take pain and gain competence by learning how to heal and manage the pain. Well, one of the blockages for the victim is that it's unfair. Why should I, a victim of incest, why should I, doubled over with shame and confusion and isolation and carrying other people's fear, why should I have to figure out what's fucked up about this and how to do something about it? Why should I have to do that? Why shouldn't they, the abuser, the villain, why shouldn't they figure out what to do with it? And then when they take it off and figure it out, they can let me know and I can go on with my life. Well, as an unconscious child, that works great. The parent was actually somewhat competent, somewhat responsible, and apologized and sent you to therapy, and here you are. Now it's off and you can just go on with your life unconsciously. But it doesn't take you very far to iterating and reiterating the culture into something that's more fun, higher than 10%. You just get back to your baseline. To get back and get to 30% efficiency rather than 10% efficiency, you've got to learn things. You've got to figure out how to give the shame back to someone who doesn't want to take it, or give it back to an energy that transcends it. If you figure that out, you don't need every abuser to be perfect for you to be happy. You can now have tons of abusers that aren't perfect And you can still be happy because you can give the energy that they don't know what to do with into a formation that you know what to do with. And that sounds like a lot of work. I don't know how to do that. Right. We're all incompetent. We're all ignorant to some degree or another. And so this is the path of zero waste. This is my learning opportunity. Now, if I don't want to learn, or if the learning is too steep, I may have to withdraw a little bit and take it in a dose and figure out how to resolve the crisis. But crisis is an important message that we don't quite know how to digest yet. Let's say that we are playing the role of the innocent victim, or the fool, or whatever it is. But let's say we're playing the role of the innocent victim. In order for us to make the equation whole, to heal the equation, we first have to stop being innocent and understand the dynamic, what it is that we are doing that opens up to that particular strain of energy. We also have to figure out how to take something that the cult views as garbage and toxic and turn it into something beautiful, good, and true. We have to restore the divinity, the wholeness to the ecology that has been broken by the mindscape of language in a tattered, brainwashed cult that knows how to cut things into bits but doesn't know how to reassemble the pieces. We have to go ahead of the cult. And then we have to succeed. And then we have to make it known. We have to make it visible to those around us, because traumatized people in a traumatically illiterate cult are terrified of the unknown. They can't stand it. They hate it. Terrified. So to say, I'm in miserable pain, I have no idea what's going on, come and be like me, help me, talk with me. A sociopathic, traumatized cult member will not do it. You're on your own over there. I'm getting away from you. I don't want to feel anything that you feel. I don't want to notice anything. Get away from me. But as we find new paths, as we say, no, this is an easier way. Look at me having fun. I've given all that pain you gave me, and I'm still having way more fun. You're doing this and this and this. Well, I'm having more fun doing this. Then people are a little bit more comfortable learning something. Oh, you know how to get out of the cult? You know how to get out of the maze? You know how to leave the rat race successfully, sustainably? You're not punished on Monday morning? I want some of that too. Everyone's looking for a way. And we could say that the wounds and the stupidity, the cruelty that we've been given illuminates, creates a big Xbox and says, here, look here, in this domain is your path out of stupidity. But if you can't figure out how to get out of this stupidity and just feel ruined, they all felt the same way. All of your abusers, they all were given all this crap to carry. They didn't know what to do with it, so they gave it to you. They don't want it back because they don't know what to do with it. If they did, they wouldn't have given it to you. They would have given it back and enjoyed their life. Abusers are incredibly miserable people. Victims who don't figure out how to do something with the energy are incredibly miserable, unhappy people. You've got to figure out how to crack the code. You can imagine you've been dropped into a computer program. And inside your body, there's a microcosm of the whole play, the whole drama. And out around you, your whole microscopic mindscape is projected and lived by all these characters and actors around. You've got to figure out how to unravel the thread of unnecessary chronic suffering, and then how to weave a path back into health, back into healing, wholeness, unity, transcendence, and grace. Hi, I'm Dane Rose. All knowledge begins with a paradigm, and out of that paradigm comes an idea, an awareness that we adopt, reject, or synthesize into something better. It doesn't become wisdom, it doesn't become useful until we take action, until we integrate it into not only our thoughts, but our feelings, our body, our words, and our way of being. For that to occur, we have to move from the passive media paradigm into more active engagement. In the link below, in the More Information section, is an invitation to join a very small, deliberately filtered, high-quality discussion with a group of people who share a common language and want to work with these ideas, with me and with one another, with the sole goal of creating 10 times more sustainable well-being for ourselves and those around us per unit of energy invested. Thank you for watching.